On this day, the 2nd of February, 1141, the Battle of Lincoln. The Anarchy is the descriptive title given to the 19 years of King Stephen's reign from 1135 to 1154. Stephen had taken the throne after the death of his uncle, Henry I, ignoring the claim of Henry's only legitimate child, Empress Matilda. Refusing to give up, Matilda invaded England and pressed her claim. On this day, the 2nd of February, in 1141, she took a giant step towards achieving her goal. Stephen had arrived in Lincoln on the 6th of January in response to news that 2 of his barons had seized the castle there. The people welcomed the king, who they called upon to deal with the lawlessness, and helped him to lay siege to the castle. The barons within had called in turn on Stephen's rival for aid, and she sent her military commander, her half-brother Robert, Earl of Gloucester, to help them. Poor omens for Stephen were recorded on the morning of the 2nd of February. When he attended Mass, the candle he carried blew out. Then it snapped and had to be pressed back together. Breakage was foretold, the chroniclers warned. When, partway through the service, the pyx containing the bread that would become the body of Christ fell off the wall and smashed on the altar, it was clear that a fall was coming. Stephen's advisers counselled him to leave. Battles were notoriously unpredictable, and they hadn't come prepared for a confrontation. The king refused to run, perhaps influenced by the enduring reputation for cowardice that his father had obtained in the Holy Land for withdrawing from a fight. As Earl Robert approached, it was clear his men outnumbered the king, who had only brought a small force to besiege the castle. With the River Trent in flood, Earl Robert swam across at the head of his men, refusing to be prevented from facing Stephen. The armies lined up against each other just outside the city, Robert's Welsh contingent coming to blows with Stephen's mercenaries, led by William of Ypres. Before long, some of Stephen's barons and commanders, including William of Ypres, were fleeing from Lincoln. Some commentators saw cowardice, others saw sense when it was obvious that the fight was going badly. Capture in battle was dangerous and expensive if a ransom had to be paid to purchase freedom. But still Stephen refused to leave. The town rang with the sounds of swords clashing and armour being beaten. Robert's cavalry rode in at the tight knot of men around the king again and again, trampling some, cutting others down, and dragging more away as prisoners. Stephen fought on. Those attacking him were driven back by the unmatched force of his terrible arm. When Stephen's battle axe shattered, he drew his trusty old sword, putting it to work until it too snapped. Seeing him unarmed, one of Robert's men rushed in and grabbed Stephen, shouting, "Here, here, I have taken the king." Robert of Torini described Stephen fighting like a lion, grinding his teeth and foaming at the mouth like a boar. But it was over now. Lincoln was sacked for supporting the king. Stephen was taken away to face Empress Matilda as her prisoner. She would move towards London and try to arrange her coronation, but would be prevented on the very cusp of success, most likely simply because she was a woman. The political chessboard was reset later in the year when Earl Robert was captured by forces loyal to Stephen. A prisoner exchange was made, Stephen for Robert, and things went back to where they had been before Lincoln, except that Stephen seemed somehow polished up by the experience. The anarchy would continue for another 13 years before Stephen's death brought it to an end, but on this day he was found fighting bravely in the midst of his enemies.